Hello and welcome. I'm author Sarah R. Turnquist. Today we're going to delve into some of the history behind my top-selling book, A Convenient Risk. In the story, Billy the Kid makes an appearance. Now, why on earth would I do that? Well, for my clean historical romance, I like to find real historical events and sort of marry them, if you will, to my fictional story. Sometimes it's a war, sometimes it's another type of conflict, such as the women's suffrage movement. But I enjoy injecting fiction, my fiction, with real history. When I started to look at the idea, the kernel of inspiration, if you will, for A Convenient Risk, I wondered about including an American outlaw. So I searched a couple and found that Billy the Kid was alive and committing crimes in the time period, the late 1800s, that I was looking at, and in the general area I was planning to place the story. So first, let's step back and look at who Billy the Kid was. He was born in 1859, likely in the Irish slums of New York City as Henry McCarty. His father dies, and then his mother remarries and moves the family out west, then passes some years later. So Billy the Kid, or Henry at this time, he was taken in by the owner of a boarding house where he worked for food and board. His first arrest known is in 1874 for stealing food. He would have been in his teenage years at that point. Then 5 months later, he was arrested for stealing clothing and firearms from a Chinese laundry. He then escapes from jail and runs away to the Arizona Territory, now an outlaw and a federal fugitive. In 1876, he becomes a ranch hand for Henry Hooker, who himself was rather well known at this time, as he was the largest landowner in Arizona and friend of Wyatt Earp, which got my wheels spinning as well for another book, but that will come later. He teamed up with a discharged Army private to steal horses from soldiers. By now, he's known as Kid Antrim because of his youthful appearance. Now we get to where he shows up in my story. Henry is caught up in a verbal altercation in a saloon that turns into a fist fight, and then Kid Antrim shoots the man that he's fighting with. He was locked up in Camp Grant, but escaped before law enforcement arrived. So now he's a wanted man in Arizona as well. This helped me pick the more precise location for my story. See, it was common historically, especially in this region of the United States, for towns to pop up and then disappear off the map, especially near the railroad. So I stumbled upon one such town that was located near Camp Grant, where Kid Antrim was. And then it was there on some of the historical maps, and then it just kind of disappears. Wharton City. So this becomes the setting for my characters. So again, you're not going to find Wharton City on a map today, but I didn't totally make up the town. It did exist at one point in history. Additionally, all these happenings with Kid Antrim, later to be called Billy the Kid in 1880, inspired the fictional events in the story, giving way for the weaving in of this outlaw with my characters. All right, if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell? And if you like hearing about A Convenient Risk, again, my top-selling book, which is free, where all ebooks are sold. So go ahead and grab a copy and learn more about it at this video, where I talk about some of the inspiration behind A Convenient Risk and even read an excerpt for you. See ya!